Authors, editors, publishers, book cover designers, agents, critics, readers. I am your host, Koral Dasgupta, all set to ask some interesting, straightforward, and fun questions to our guests. I, Koral Dasgupta, will be talking to author Anand Nilakantan, and it's my pleasure to invite you to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
So, Anand, I have been reading your books and I know a little bit about your profile. So, engineering, cartooning, writing are very diverse skills. How do they come together for you?
I don't know whether they are diverse skills. Everything is about creativity. So I don't think it is a diverse skills. Engineering was not a choice. It was forced upon me by the parents and the society and other things. So the first chance I got to escape, I escaped. That's all.
Okay.
Cartooning I used to do. Even now I keep drawing something or other. And writing is a part of you. You might have seen most of the writers are either they sketch well or they draw well or they sing. And I cannot sing for my life, but I can draw a bit and paint and all. And these two go together. I don't know why. Most places I observed, either it will be a combination of writing and drawing, or it's a combination of writing and singing.
Music, yeah.
Music, yeah.
So, about writing, you started writing and immediately became a bestseller. How did that happen? Did you have it in you right from the beginning, or you created yourself?
For me, it was an element of luck was there, if I can say so. But my writing, like I wrote what I wanted to write. I didn't choose the most successful genre where a lot of people are reading. Then I should have gone for the college romance love stories.
You didn't choose a successful genre for that matter.
Asura, when I had started writing, now it is 8 years now, the first book, Asura Ravan, it was a very unconventional topic.
Absolutely.
Not only that, it took almost 10 years for me, 4 years of research, more than 10, almost 12 years, because 6 years I took to write, 5-6 years, around 3 to 4 years I was roaming around to collect material from folk tales and other things, and 2 to 3 years it took for the thing to get published. By that time, a lot of trends would have come and changed. So I was not bothered about that. I just wanted to write what I wanted. And there was an element of luck because maybe I was at the right place at the right time. I can't discount that. But almost 12 years of hard work also is there behind it, which also you can't discount.
Absolutely. And this 12 years of writing, that was with your full-time job?
Definitely, no. Otherwise, I would have starved. And I don't look like as if somebody who has starved.
That is quite, quite some dedication, I must tell you, because with a full-time job, it's very difficult to
Actually, only with a full-time job, when you are speculative writing what you do, you don't know whether the book will be published, book will get... only with a full-time job you can do.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, only in the films you find the writers...
only in the films you have a romance element with
the poverty and writer roaming around and some beautiful girl loving him in spite of his bad looks and stinking dress. These things never happen in real life.
Absolutely, I can't agree more.
You had to go to office, do your normal job and whatever time you squeeze in. But there is no deadline at that time. No, you finish it when you want. Unlike now, when you have become a professional writer, you are haunted and hounded by deadlines. So there you go for 7 drafts, 8 drafts, you write when you want, you send it to publishers and send it back. You feel a bit sad, but it doesn't, your family won't starve. Now if they send back, my family will starve. So being a professional writer is different.
Did you have rejections, Anand?
Plenty, around 18 rejections.
My God.
No, but rejection any writer will be having. It's nothing special about me that I had rejection.
Yeah, true that.
A lot of rejections happen.
Actually, when I read Asura now, I have read many of your books. When I read Asura now, or when I even watch Bahubali, I just feel that you just came like, zap.
It doesn't happen anywhere like that. It is a Rajinikanth film, it happens. After a song, suddenly you are driving a bullock cart. After a song, suddenly you start driving a Rolls Royce. That doesn't happen in life. I wish it happens like that.
I wish, seriously. So, your books have a very larger-than-life element. Do you see yourself as a larger-than-life person?
I don't see. I'm a very ambitious person, so I always want to be a larger than life person, but I am yet to be. That's a truth.
Okay.
So that is there always. I am very ambitious. Even before writing Asura, my wife will vouch for it. At that time, everybody used to make fun. The first line I wrote was, "This is going to be a bestseller." I had not written even a single line.
My God.
And it took 12 years to complete that. The first line was that, and second line was the irony, "Tomorrow is my funeral," which it starts, the Asura starts from. So that also they were telling it's a very negative, inauspicious start. Why are you starting with this? I said this is a rebellious book. It has to start with the end. So Asura starts with the end.
You never know what works, no? And I mean, I have been hearing stories from different people now, and these kind of stories, are so inspiring that it's like something. It reminds me of that Ratan Tata dialogue that I don't take right decisions, I take a decision and make it right.
So for me it was like people were telling when I was writing. See, I was a fairly I had a decent job when I had started writing. With a typical, what do you call, a small town family's ambition, all I had fulfilled by that time. So there is no... I had a phase after the college where I was without job, starving and all. A small phase, 6-7 months is there. That's a different thing. But after that, it was a very regular, boring public sector PSU life. I had married...
the Grihastha phase.
Grihastha phase, job. And married the woman I wanted. I had 2 beautiful kids. I had constructed my house. So actually by 33 I hit the midlife, 30 by either 30 I hit the midlife crisis. Don't know what to do now. So that is what I had put it in Asura, that the greatest tragedy of life is that you achieve your dreams.
God.
After that, you don't know what the hell you are going to do.
You don't know what to do.
So from there, from boredom, it started. So I wanted to do something. Then I experimented with a lot of things. It's not that I immediately went for writing. I experimented with doing cartooning. I used to get a lot of prizes for cartooning in the college youth festivals and other things. In Kerala has a culture of a lot of youth festivals and competitions. So I used to get a lot. Not that much in stories. More than that, it was cartoons. And even because at that time, even in stories, I used to write all kind of sarcastic, humorous stuff instead of any... So Asura also I used some tone of sarcasm in that.
Yes, I remember those.
So I used to use those things. So when I wanted to do something other than your regular job... At that time, I had a very bad boss. I should thank him. So
it was a stress buster?
It was a stress buster. Then I started drawing. I started painting. It's restarted after 10-15 years. But then my cartoons again started getting published. But then by that time I had become very ambitious. So cartoons were fetching me 25 rupees, 50 rupees per cartoon.
No. 25,
back in 12-15 years back. But still 25 rupees, 50 rupees, not even a vada pav. This thing, not even a masala dosha. At that time I was in South, so no vada pav there. Not even a masala dosha it would have fetched. Then after that, I shifted to writing the same humorous stories, but they were also fetching 100 rupees, 150 rupees in the local magazines. Then I had you started using your management principles and all, how to expand at least. Somewhere you have to use it. So I decided I had to shift to English. So I started writing in English. Now the funny thing is that I write in Malayalam also. I published in Malayalam my books, novels and all. Somebody else translating my work to Malayalam sells more than my original Malayalam books. That is the irony of life. Much more, almost 10 times more than my original Malayalam
My
book.
God.
Because the original Malayalam book, now whatever I am writing, I started writing in a very literary style.
Right.
Because even if it is going to be popular, a single Indian language is not going to yield you that kind of thing. So why to compromise? So I was writing a proper literary thing in Malayalam, and I write whatever to make it popular in the English. So the popular one, when translated to Malayalam, is more easier to read than my colloquial and easier to read than my Malayalam which I write, which is more poetic and lyrical. So because my command of language is much better in Malayalam. English is I learned very late, so it's a forced language. I don't have that kind of flow which I have in Malayalam for English.
Even literature, when we come out of our mother tongue, I completely know where you come from, because I also come from Bengal, and though I have studied in a convent school, I thought in Bengali and wrote in English. So obviously that always remained, and whenever you write English, coming from that background, whenever you write English, you want to make a big thing out of it, that I write the best English in the world, kind of a feeling for yourself. That makes it quite a different level English. It doesn't make it a colloquial English.
But this phase I came out in the sense that I decided I won't worry about the kind of, because I am not an English graduate. I did my engineering and petroleum management. So it has got nothing to do with my English, and my comfortable language is Malayalam. So I thought that there is no point in making. So some of the criticism which comes is all these Ravana, Rama and all are speaking in modern English. Then I said, what do you expect? Will they speak in Shakespeare in English? That also is stupid, because they would have been speaking in Sanskrit or Tamil or whatever language of that time.
And then some of the words you have to use the Sanskrit or the local language only. It will not make sense.
So what I do is I write the way in which we speak English now. I don't bother about. So Bahubali also speaks in the modern, like the typical city English of India. So I don't go for any flowery, flourishing language which I can't handle also. So why to bother about it? Better tell a great story.
Absolutely.
Rather than trying to do acrobatics in language, which I try to do in Malayalam, of course. Because I know not many people are going to read, so I can do anything.
So, Anand, as a child, someone must have introduced you to mythological stories. Who?
My father had introduced. Father, most of the stories which he told, I used to rebel at that time itself. So most of my stories are rebellion against thing. But first I learned about the original, the real thing. Not only that, I come from a place called Tripunithra near Cochin. It was a capital of the erstwhile Cochin kingdom. So Maharaja of Cochin used to live there, and there are around 108 temples. So in Kerala, all the temples are the places where the art and art forms are traditional things are still performed. In the sense that these are all very old temples, some 1,500 year old temples and structures, which has this Kootambalam, what they call the performing place, where they have all the kind of traditional art forms like Kathakali, Ottantullal, Nangyar Kooth, Chakyar Kooth, and all the kind of traditional Pavakooth. A lot of them are there, which are 700 years, 800 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 years old. Tradition is still going on. So they all deal with the Puranic stories, and they are very subaltern also. So all these things I have seen this. So my people ask, what research did you do? What is a reference book? My reference and research is all the folk tradition. Then when I started writing seriously, I traveled across and I found this kind of similar tradition dying. Of course, it is not as vibrant as it is there in Kerala, because of the patronage is not there in many places. But still it is existing in Andhra, in many parts of the North India, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, southern Karnataka, like Kerala, it still exists. A few places you find that this thing, which has a different kind of Ramayana and different versions of Ramayana, not in the complete versions. You find the tidbits of some story. And every place in India is connected with Ramayana or Mahabharata. Pandava has sat here, Rama had taken bath here, he had a coconut here. Something or the other is made there. It is so linked with all these things. So all these stories form the basis of my narration.
So, Anand, I am very tempted to ask you this, that I have visited South India and I have felt that there people are very rigid still, very orthodox in maintaining the truest form of mythology, be it in worshipping, be it in believing, be it in consuming. Given that your writing is so experimentative and, as you say, rebellious, how did didn't the acceptability become a
Actually,
problem?
acceptability is more in the South because this kind of literature, my only speciality is that I wrote it in English. Otherwise, all the classical languages of the South literature abounds with this kind of rebellious take.
Okay.
It's nothing new which I have done. I am just following that oral storytelling traditions of thousands of years and thousands of artists. I just did it in English, nothing more than that. So the rigidity usually comes in places where it is the culture has totally changed. Hinduism as such is not rigid at all. It
Absolutely.
accepts questioning. So all the things like what I am telling in Asura and all, in Kathakali they have dealt with it.
Yes.
Already they have dealt with all these things. In Ottanthulal, Kunjan Nambiyar, the 17th century poet, he is very sarcastic and is supposed to is a Hasya Kavi also. So he deals with all these kind of questions like there is this famous Thullal called Kalyana Saugandhikam where Bhima is stopped by Hanuman. As an old monkey, I think you might be perhaps aware of the tale where Bhima goes to get the Kalyana Saugandhika flower
Right.
for Draupadi, and he reaches the Kadalivana where the Hanuman as an old monkey is stopping on his way. So there in the entire Ottanthulal what happens is the Hanuman makes fun of Pandavas, Krishnas, everyone in a very sarcastic tone. I think you cannot translate it now in English with the same tonality. If
Absolutely.
you translate it, some people may get offended, but this was
Some
played.
people, there will be a group that will get offended.
This was played in temple, and people used to, scholars of this thing, they used to laugh hearing this. So it is not that he is doing it in a tone of disrespect. It is just the tradition itself is such that you view the entire thing from all angles.
Correct.
So if you really go into the tradition, what is Ramayana and Mahabharata? It is considered as the play where Jaya and Vijaya, the bodyguards of Vishnu, come as Ravana and Kumbhakarna, or Kamsa and Shishupala in the south, of course, Dantavakra in the north, or Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and Vishnu comes to redeem them. So it is already decided that it is a play. It's not an evil, good or bad evil. It is already a play to show the human emotions, how people work, and it's just a method.
Right.
And people are free, and they have done a lot of works have come in Tamil, in Malayalam, in Kannada, in Telugu and all. N.T. Ramarao in Telugu had played a lot of the so-called negative characters as Duryodhan, as Ravan. He had come a lot, apart from playing Krishna, Rama and all. Same way, Kannada also they had done a lot. Tamil, it is a given that they will do. In Malayalam, plays like the Vaila Ramavarma's poetry is there on Tadaga. These are all the subaltern Turks, or Ramanaputri. And Srikantan Nayar's famous play was there 70 years back, 60 years back. Then Aravindan's film is there, Kanchana Sita.
Right.
So all of them have, I'm just giving some few examples.
Yeah.
Bengal also has the same tradition.
Yes,
Meghanada
very
Padakavya and even
much.
the Hindi, Vayam Rakshamaha and other things were all subaltern tradition. So wherever tradition is there, one of the things the traditional places encourage is the debate.
Yes.
So Vada and Pradivada, Purvavaksha and Uttaravaksha, it keeps happening there. So this is just one method of telling the story, nothing else.
Absolutely.
So I have done both. For TV, I have done from Siya K. Ram, I have told it from Sita's point of view. I had written the hit series of Mahabali Hanuman, whereas I have written in book as Vanara, where Bali becomes the hero, whereas in Mahabali Hanuman, Bali is the villain. It's just from which angle you are showing the light.
The story. Correct. So, Anand, women have played a very strong characters in your stories. So is it a conscious decision to explore the pains and pleasure of a woman?
If you really follow our tradition, you will have to give a lot of importance to women. Because Mahabharata or Ramayana is a story of women more than the various.
Absolutely.
Ramayana is more Sitayana more than Ramayana, because it is a Sita's choices which drives Ramayana forward. Rama, if you really see, Rama is a passive character if you really analyze it through the story angle. Every decision is thrust on him. His father asks him to go to forest, he goes to forest. Ravan kidnaps his wife, then he has to go and fight. Somebody slanders his wife, then he has to abandon her. So every decision is forced on her. It is not that he is taking decision. Whereas Sita's is all about choices. So Ramayana, that is why like Sita decides to marry him because in Swayamvara condition, if you really analyze, he had not strung the bow, he had broken the bow. So he didn't follow the conditions of Swayamvara. In Valmiki Ramayana, there is no Swayamvara actually, what we see like TV, but in other Ramayanas it is there. Valmiki Ramayana Swayamvara had happened 1 year before Ram had reached Mithila. But in Tulsidas Ramayana and other Ramayans, it's like one day it is happening and everybody coming and like that. So that's a different discussion. But Sita then chooses that she will marry Ram. Then Sita chooses to go with Rama. Sita chooses, when Hanuman comes and says that I can take you back to Rama when he comes to visit Lanka, Sita chooses not to go and says Rama will have to come and redeem me, otherwise his honor will be. So like that is all her choices. When she is abandoned, she chooses to bring up the children and they defeat the Rama's army, Leva and Kusha. And when she is asked for Agnivirisha again, she chooses not to do it and go back. So these are her choices which drive around. Similarly, the case with Tara, the case with Mandodari, the case with Kunti, the Draupadi. I even consider Sita as much more stronger character than Draupadi because Draupadi's anger led to destruction. Sita's actions are more about Sita's revenge is sweeter. That is why Sita is among Panchakanyas or Panchasatis as per some other tradition, but Panchakanya mainly. Why she is, because her actions are all positive, whatever action she takes. Whereas Draupadi is like only one emotion is there, that's anger, it's a revenge. And it results in too many deaths. Whereas Sita's revenge is like Shakuntala's revenge. She brings up the kids as a single mother and to defeat each and every warrior of Rama, including Ram himself.
That is a completely different brand of feminism actually.
It's a completely different brand of feminism. And the question you asked, why a lot of female characters? Valmiki is the answer for that. In Uttar Ramayana, when it starts, until then for Rama is God for Valmiki. After that he says, now I am with Sita. Or rather, Sita is with him. Why? Because, again, this is by Kalidasa, he says, Rudida Nusari Kavi. Why a poet or a writer is the one who is with the people who are suffering, with the people who are downtrodden, with the people who are crying. Rudida Nusari Kavi. This is the dharma of a poet or a writer or this thing, to stand with the oppressed or the downtrodden. That is what the tradition is telling about. And one more thing is which comes from the Shiva Puranas in the south. Perhaps I had written it about somewhere, I don't know, I don't remember, somewhere I had written about it as an article about freedom of press we talk about. There is this incident where in the Sangha, Tamil Sangha, the head of Sangha was Nakiran.
Okay.
So Nakiran, the Pandyan kings gives a poetry to fill. So one small time poet who is a Bhakta of Shiva, he goes and prays. I don't have money. He's a not a very talented poet. So Shiva himself fills it, the poetry, the Tamil poetry, and gives it to this thing. He goes and narrates it to the king, and king says it's a great poetry, as if it is his own poetry. Then the head of Tamil Sangha says the poetry is wrong.
Okay.
You can't give him the prize. So this guy goes back and shouts at Shiva, and Shiva comes as if saying that I have written the poetry. As a poet says, Shiva comes. So the question here is, in that poetry he has written, it's a very simple thing. Parvati's hair is fragrant by itself. So the Nakiran says, the head of Sangha says it is wrong. Because no woman's hair will have fragrance by itself. Only if you put fragrant flowers and other things, fragrance will be there. So this is all, what you are writing is bullshit. This becomes a big argument. Then Shiva shows his own form, saying that I am Parvati's husband, I am Shiva himself, and now you tell. Then Kiran says, even if you are Shiva himself, even if Parvati is your wife, what is truth is the truth. I'll tell it at your face. You are lying. It is it's a traditional story. Then Shiva says, I'll burn you. And Shiva gets angry. He gets angrier and angrier.
Right.
But he keeps in stand. Everybody tells him to say calm down. Shiva himself is saying, why are you arguing with him? But he keeps on telling the stand that it is... this is the truth and I will stand by it. And Shiva burns him.
Okay.
Shiva burns him and he gets burned, and then Shiva revives him and says that this is the dharma of the writer. This is what, this is how you stand up against fascism. This is how you stand up against tyranny. He is standing up against the God itself.
Okay. That is quite a different world altogether, what you said.
This is how, so this is the tradition which makes Tenali Rama tell the Krishna Deva Raya that he's a fool. This is a tradition where Birbal is able to tell Akbar that you are
not only told, proved
that you are
no use.
of use. So this tradition comes from, these are the roots of India. From this it is coming. That is why when people say people are getting influenced, people are getting afraid, always in this country people have stood up. Somebody will stand up and say that even if you are Shiva, you are wrong.
So such a fantastic input, Anand, I must tell you. Anand, I'll digress a little bit into some other world of books and your relationship with books. I would like to know that what is your relationship with your editor or editors? If you could tell us.
I always had a great. In fact, my first 3 books I owe a lot to Chandralekha Maitra. She was my first editor. She had. In fact, she had found the book. They had kept for rejection. Lead Start was a small company. She had, by chance, she happened to see the manuscript. She started reading it. She liked the power of that's what she said, the power of writing. And that's how Asura happened. And she had handheld me during the initial years. So she, in fact, had made me. Similarly, the Bahubali editor also, Deepthi and Divya, they were all quite good. Then, of course, with Vanara, it is Mili Aishwarya who made me of Penguin, who made me write it as a novel, which is becoming a film now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it had formed the part of a a short story series, which I was doing about women of Ramayana, which will be followed by women of Mahabharata. It's actually, initially I had written in Malayalam, which I rewrote it, not translated, in English, simplified it and translated it to English, which came in, which is available in Kindle. Only for Kindle I was writing. So one was Bhumija, that is how Valmiki conceived Ramayana, how Sita was born in his mind. That is one. Second was a meeting between Shurpanaka and Sita when Sita is banished. The 2 women with a Chandala woman who is not bothered about any of these things. 3 women talking about, it's all women's perspective. Then another was Shanta, the elder sister of Rama, who not many people know, who was given away by Dasharatha so that he can have a male child. He didn't want a female child, he gave it away to Ramapada. And Ramapada asked her to go and bring Rishyasringa. So she has to go to the forest and seduce Rishyasringa and bring. It is a Rishyasringa who comes and brings rain in Ramapada's Angarajya, and the same Rishyasringa comes and do the Putrakameshti Yajna. And during Dasharatha's death, he has 4 illustrious sons, no one is there, only Shanta is there. That's irony of life and Ramayana. This story comes in Mahabharata actually, not in Ramayana, but it's about Mahabharata in Vanaparva. Ramopaghyana is there, which is about Ramayana, which is almost as long as the original Ramayana. In that, all these stories do come. So this was a part of that series where I was writing about Tara's end moments where she is thinking about Bali.
Right.
When she read it, I had just narrated it. She told me, why don't you write it for us as a
full-fledged novel.
It's a big full-fledged novel. And from there Vanara was born, where Bali and Sugriva, with Bali as the hero, Sugriva, it's like almost Shakespearean in this thing, no? Where Sugriva is like Iago, who tries to get Bali into trouble so that he can get Tara. So that novel was born because of these editors. So it has always been and Malayalam also editors have been quite helpful to me.
They play such an important role.
They play an important, lot of people, not only editors do play an important role. Proofreaders play, the cover designers play, so many people, even the last man on the shop who recommends your book, he plays.
Oh yes.
So there is, anybody's success, it doesn't happen. It's like a web of life.
Yes,
so many things.
There's a cloud of people who
cloud
come
of
together.
people, and it keeps expanding, that's all.
Absolutely. So, since you spoke about readers, have you ever faced a reader whose depth would make you remember the interaction for life?
Lot of them
Tell
do
us
write.
a few about a few. Because not everybody can write, but the way they interpret at times is like you just feel that it's a wow moment for.
There is one Balasubramaniam Meghanathan Ambedkar. He had changed his name to Meghanatha after Asura. But he had written to me. There is some Venkatesh Satish Lola who used to write to me regarding this. And then there have been a few of scholars who have written to me, in the sense that they are teaching Sanskrit, mythology and all those things at various parts of the country. Many people have done PhDs on Asura or MPhils on Asura and Ajaya and even Vanara. So these people have written a lot of articles in the sense that like the research paper on this. They have written to me about many things which even I had not imagined that I had written like that. They had found more meanings than ever I had speculated. But that's always like that. No?
Yeah.
You find yourself in your novel, all novels you read.
True that.
So
Actually, it probably completes with the reader, right? I mean, you have written, by writing, you have done half the job, and the circle gets completed when they write.
That we also feel, the same novel we read at different age of life.
Yes.
It looks different.
Absolutely. We ourselves consume it from a different perspective at different ages.
That is why, see, TV earns you a lot of money, films get you a lot of fame and money. But ultimately, novels, when you compare even a highly successful novel like Asura or Ajaya or even Bahubali, will yield much lesser than one show or one film which I do. But this is for eternity. This gets translated to 14, 15 languages.
It's a legacy.
It's a legacy you leave. Who remembers? I had earned a lot of money from all the serials which became hit. Who remembers who wrote it?
True that.
But people still remember Asura. People will remember
Vanara
or Ajaya or whichever book you write. Even short stories you have written long back. People remember about that. But these things which yielded me a lot of money and which yielded me a lot of comforts in life, with all your luxuries in life. More than that, these things will live, the novels. That's why you keep writing novels even now. For the effort you put and the money you make, even a highly successful, I can call myself fairly successful in this field. Even for a fairly successful guy, the money it yields is nothing much. You, from a regular day job, if you will earn much more than that.
Absolutely. The satisfaction that you get is completely
more.
from a different
Then
world.
now one good thing is like these are going into film adaptation. Then you get a lot of money.
True.
That's one good thing which is happening recently. But a book like Asura or Ajaya, not many will take for film adaptation. That is also there.
It depends upon, I think, what is the vision of the filmmaker.
It depends on what is the condition in the country.
Because
also.
you have shown a particular picture. I might see a very different picture after reading it. Depends upon who is reading.
No, now people are hypersensitive, so I don't know.
Yes.
That also is there.
Yes,
so
yes,
not
yes.
many, it's an industry. Unlike a book which is an art, film is an industry.
Yes, true.
So in industry, there should be returns and nobody will take risk where this kind of things are there.
True that. So, next question is a little business. Would you believe that the author's personality sells faster than books? Please do reason out your response, as many new authors would be looking out for your thoughts on this.
I don't know. I can tell only from my personal experience. When Asura had come for 3 years, I lived in a place called Belgaum. There was not
That's
even
the Karnataka border?
Karnataka
It's
border.
beautiful.
It's a beautiful place, but there is not even at that time there was not even a single English bookstop. So I had never visited
My
anywhere.
God.
I didn't do any kind of marketing.
Promotion for that matter.
Promotion and all. And I don't know what kind of personality I will project for people to go and buy the book. Maybe it may work for romance books and other things. But for me as a concerned, I was targeting a more kind of serious readers, to be very frank. I'm not saying that others are non-serious, but surprisingly, my books were read by a lot of college-going people and a lot of people above 45, 50, 55 who don't get swayed by how glamorous or less glamorous you look.
True that.
So it didn't affect me much, but there are cases where you are a romance writer or other thing, you'll have to project yourself as something like that, and naturally it's a very psychologically proven fact that people who are good looking, there is a bias for anyone to support them. You can Google it also. There are a lot of countless research. So that works even in, if you now see the singers. Most of the successful singers now are all good looking guys, whereas 40, 50 years back when it was only you needed a sound, because you will be hearing it, you will not be seeing the singer
Seeing
much.
the person.
Now you have to perform it on the stage, so you have to be very good looking. So and it plays a part.
You have
for
to have
many
that
success.
attitude.
So many
howsoever you
great,
look.
many great legendary singers, had they lived now, would not have become legendary perhaps. Because they didn't have the
They didn't have the personality
or the looks. So looks in a visual era, looks do play a part. I don't deny that. But my kind of books, whether I should look like Ravan, I don't know. To sell Asura or Bali as a Vanara, like a monkey, I don't know about that.
So my last question, Anand. If you were a mythological character, who would you be?
Ravan.
You think you match Ravan in terms of temperament and attitude? I mean, why did you say Ravan?
Ravan is the first person who haunted me to write the Asura. So Ravan is always a very fascinating character. So probably Ravan. He never got Sita, but still he got a lot of others. And he had a cool flight also with him. And 10 heads, it will be difficult to pass through this door and all, but still.
Lots of rewards, but some compromises.
Some compromises. He's such a big scholar, artist. So many books he has written. So a lot of personality he has.
True that.
Maybe he's the only one who can sing a group song alone. So these are the things which not many can claim to.
Anand, I had a fabulous time talking to you. I think I laughed a lot. I wasn't expecting.